As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Gress Farm, we have the Canadian Protoss player representing Team Basilisk, currently up 1-0 in this best of 5 grand finals. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top left hand corner of Gress Farm, we have his opponent. We have the Brazilian Zerg player representing the Cranky Ducklings. It is Erik. Oh, let's go. This is what I was talking about, Poppy. We haven't seen Erik's final form. Oh, we haven't seen what he really has to offer in this matchup. But we had a best of 3 earlier between these two players, and Erik, you know, he was obviously doing his best, but he was obviously keeping certain builds at bay, keeping them for the grand finals, that we are going for the proxy hatch. Now, this is a very common build on Gress Farm. We've seen Dark do this, we've seen Raynor do this, we've seen Erik do this. The reason why, 1, there is no ramp into the natural. 2, the entrance to the natural here is very large and very wide open. We have a lot of surface area that we can abuse. Because of that, it can be difficult to defend as well. As Trigger goes for a probe scout, he confirms the spawning pool, he confirms the lack of hatchery, he probe scouts, he checks, he sees the hatchery of Erik. We have a second gateway on the way. We have a second pylon as well. The first zealot is being chronoed out as we speak, and we'll see how hard Erik commits as he sends drones across the map to throw down those spine crawlers. Oh boy. Now, Trigger has died to this before. He has fallen to this very build, so he, I imagine, is well prepared here mentally to face off against this. The first zealot has already arrived. We have Lings on the way. We have Queens on the way as well. This hatchery is already taking a beating, but it will survive long enough for these spine crawlers to get up and running. Oh, nice control so far out of Erik. He does keep these things alive just barely. Oh. Trying to preserve them as best as he can. Ooh, is going to be losing some Lings towards the end there, though, but he does take down one of those zealots. Meanwhile, more Lings, they do come in for a full surround. Oh, the second zealot will go down. Meanwhile, we have some very forward shield batteries. My god, some very forward shield batteries being set up here by Trigger, but the shield batteries are going to fall. I'm sure they were designed to keep the zealots alive, but alas, they are all going to go down one after the other. This was a very ambitious move by Trigger. Ay. And as a result, that is so many resources down the drain. The wall is not a wall. The Lings are going to be able to get on top of these stalkers and zone them away. Meanwhile, these spine crawlers are going ham on the pylons, on the shield batteries. And this is getting out of hand. We're going to surround. No! Trigger loses a stalker on the low ground. The pylon goes down. Everything is depowered. Do we have anything in the main base? No, the robo is just a little bit too late. Again, Trigger, he was too overconfident. He was too overzealous in his defense. This robo is not going to finish. That's a kill, not a cancel. The boys are being pulled. Oh my god, and the Lings are just focusing down the shield batteries one after another. We have 2 shield batteries on the way. The Queen waddles into the main base. We have 1 stalker standing strong, but these shield batteries, they're not going to finish, Papi. They're not going to finish. Ooh. Oh my god, and with that, GG gets hauled. Erik ties up the series 1-1. Oh boy. GG, well played. Let's go. Oh my god, Trigger, he was so, yeah, again, I feel like he was just a little bit ahead of himself. Just going for those forward shield batteries, delaying his robo as well, trying to dive on top of that hatchery and hyper focusing on his zealot control. He was falling behind in other aspects, and yeah, just like that, we have a series on our hands. Let's go. Let us go, as game number 2 is going to be taking place on Royal Blood. Now, Erik has been able to show off his skills with the proxy hatchery, but again, the best map to do that on is Gress Farm. Gress Farm is the map to proxy hatch. From here on out, it's going to get a little bit harder. We do have to rely on some other builds instead. Now, you can still proxy hatch on Ancient Cistern and on Royal Blood as well. And why do I point out those 2 maps? That's because, just like Gressvan, there are no ramps going into the natural, so those bases are that much more exposed. But the natural openings, the ramps, the entrances are much more narrow instead, so gonna be harder to pull off. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the Canadian Protoss player representing Team Basilisk. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Brazilian Zerg player representing the Cranky Ducklings. It is Erik. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. This time, going for a 14 hatch. Odd. Okay, you have my attention, Erik. It wasn't even a gas trick. It was just a straight up 14 hatch into a 15 pool. Okay. Interesting stuff here. So yeah, from here Erik is going to be able to go into, I imagine it's going to be a 15 pool to go into faster lings and faster queen production, and there we go, the pool is thrown down. Yeah, so with the 14 hatchery, this is slightly earlier as well. I'm curious if this is just because he assumed that Trigger would be trying to pro block him like faster than usual and wanted to make sure that he gets his hatchery up on time, on location. As from here, we're getting into our gas as well. Back at home, Trigger going for a gain expand. Relatively greedy opener, more economic centric, after he recognizes that Erik did go for a hatch first. He feels pretty safe and confident about himself. Does make plenty of sense. And with that, we are getting into our game, and this is again very Erik. And Miyamika does this as well whenever he goes pool first. Even though we have a faster pool, no lings, only queens and drones being produced here from Erik. When it comes to his shenanigans, they're going to be coming out a little bit later on instead. As Trigger is going to be waiting for a couple more resources. He does delay Warp Gate, and I'm sure Erik does see that. But with this delayed Warp Gate, it isn't a Stargate opener. It's a robo. Oh boy, this is gonna get wild here. Trigger wants to be the aggressor. Trigger wants to turn the tables as the queen is already waddling across the map as we speak. Now with this robo first, this can lead into a disruptor drop opening. This can even go into Colossus as well, which is very unusual and very unorthodox. Not what we should be seeing, but disruptor is a little bit more likely. This can also lead into a 2-base all-in of a soul train off of sentries and immortals. So we'll see what the plan is going to be here for Trigger, as we do see that first queen just waddling back on home. We are getting overlord speed. With this, Erik is going to get a full scout and we'll get confirmation of what is going on. And there's that base, so it looks like it's going to be a disruptor drop. So with this, we can get disruptors and also war prison speed, and we can harass across the map with those disruptors. It can be really risky though, because it does mean that you don't have a lot to defend at home. You don't have any oracles to protect your third base, you don't have any glaive adepts or even blink stalkers. This delays you and sets you back in other ways. As Erik gets a full scout, gets in with his overlord, sees everything there is to see, and we'll be able to get out of there as well. Oh, I spoke too soon. Oh, it looks like Trigger is going to be able to shut down this overlord, so a very good pickoff here from Trigger, especially because Erik committed into overlord speed but wasn't able to keep the overlord alive. Speaking of speed, there is war prison speed on the way, as to be expected, as we get into those disruptors. And now Erik with full information, what is he going to use? What is he going to use that for is the question. He's taking additional gases. He's going into a lair. This won't be for a Nidus all-in. Looks like he's going to be rushing into roaches. So roach ling is going to be the answer. He's going to be forced to be a little bit defensive initially, but after he does deflect the first couple of disruptors, he can turn things on their head and go for a counterattack. As the Lings are moving on out, they're going to try and get on top of these Stalkers as well. They are spotted by Trigger as he is racing back home, and it looks like he should be able to get there in time. Maybe the Adept gets caught out. Oh! Ooh. No, the Adept does get in range of the shield battery, and Trigger will defend. Erik just keeping tabs on the would-be third base, making sure Trigger is contained to 2 bases for as long as possible. And we go for a double disruptor drop into... Oh, a 2-base all in. Oh, Erik needs to scout this. He needs to figure out what's going on because Trigger is not taking a third base. We do have the Nova's going to be going off. They will be connecting on that Queen. Queen will go down for free, essentially. Meanwhile, Trigger is going up to... How many gates is this? My god. 2, 4, 6, 7 gates on 2 bases. 2 disruptors into a Colossi. This is going to hit like a truck, and Erik doesn't know. He doesn't see. Doesn't need to figure out what is going on, and Novas are going to be going off as well. Oh! Ooh, it does take down the Roach. Good Nova there from Trigger. Every unit that goes down is going to hurt Erik that much more, as he still doesn't know what's happening. He's going for an Overseer now, but it's too little too late. The army has arrived. The sentries reveal themselves. That is enough of a tell. Erik is now fully aware that Trigger is racing across the map. Oh no! The Ravagers! No! The Ravagers will not complete. The Novas go off, and that may just be it. That may just be too much damage. Without Ravagers, how do we defend against this army? I don't think we can. As Trigger has arrived. He's ahead in armor supply. He has the disruptors. He's got those Colossi as well. There's no way to deal with these force fields. The Queens will try to hold on. Oh god! Oh, the Nova. Nice splits there from Erik. He kills one disruptor. He splits against the other. I appreciate this as well. He's trying to mine as much as he can from this space. He takes down the last remaining disruptor, but we have so many Stalkers. And even without the Colossus, even with pure Stalker, this may just be too much. As boys are being pulled, the Colossus goes down. The Stalkers are vanilla. They don't have Blink. They don't have +1. They don't have any upgrades. But they are going to be enough. As Erik has to pull the boys. Roaches come on forward as well. We basically have Blink though, as Trigger is going to be able to pull back the weakened Stalkers. We're even feeling confident enough to warp it into the face of Erik. GG gets called, and Trigger will take game number 3. GG. Oh, unfortunately, it took Erik too long to figure out what was going on. By the time he saw the army, by the time he realized it was a 2-base all-in, Trigger was already moving out, was already halfway across the map. Oh. And Erik just really not expecting Trigger to turn the tables in such a way. And I do like this. I do think that being aggressive against Erik is kind of what players should be doing. Whether it's Trigger, whether it's Protoss, whether it's Terran. Not so much Zerg. I think ZVZ is something a little bit different. But I do think that the Protoss and the Terrans are looking to be hyper aggressive against Erik, just to try to put him on the back foot instead. Here we go from here. Oh, did I not have the score set up? Oh, okay, thank God. As we are getting into our next game, Trigger just needs one more game to take the series. Erik needs to win this game and the next to be able to take the series and the championship himself. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the Canadian Protoss player, one of the best Protoss in all of North America, representing Team Basilisk. We have Trigger. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the Brazilian Zerg player representing the Cranky Ducklings. Down in this series, up against the wall. He needs to win every game moving forward if he wants to win this tournament. It is Erik. here we go. So Erik gonna be going for a hatch first opener. Oh my god, a regular 16 hatch as well. I'm impressed. Okay, nothing too fancy here. Meanwhile, Trigger is going for a probe scout across the map. I was talking about Ancient Cistern earlier, and we have seen Erik try to proxy hatch on this map, but it is a little bit harder to pull off. This is a more defensible map compared to Gressvan. And we do see that this time a hatch gas pool opener from Erik. No cancels, no tricks, standard opener. Crazy. Insane. Oh. And from here, we'll see if Erik can bring things back. Now, we have seen Erik on Ancient Cistern before play relatively standard. We have seen him drone up to 66 and look to commit and try to break the third base. I do think that this is a good map for it. I do think that, in general, Ancient Cistern is a better map for Zerg going into the mid game, at least, if we can get there unscathed. And that's the important thing, is that Trigger has clearly shown us that he is willing to be aggressive himself. He's willing to all in off of 2 bases. I don't think this is a good map for it, but that's something to bear in mind. It just shows that Trigger, he's not your average Protoss player. You know, he's from NA. he's an NA Protoss, and because of that, he has the capacity to be aggressive. He doesn't have to play stock standard, you know, monotonous Stargate first every single game standard play. Like, there is more to Trigger than just that. I think that's the favorite, that's my favorite thing about this series so far, is that Trigger is willing to switch things up and take different roles as well. I know that there are some players out there that that kind of refuse to do that and are a little bit more one note or one track minded. It's good to see that Trigger is more diverse than that. As the initial depth is going to be going across the map, and is going to be looking to get some damage done. One drone does get picked off. And we almost get a second. Erik very quick to morph in those spores, just keep his workers alive for the time being. Meanwhile, across the map, Trigger is indeed going for that Stargate opener. Is going for it, and yeah, we'll see what we have behind this. As so far, it is going to be a standard opener. We're going to be going into from our Stargate into our third Nexus as well. Should be going into a second Oracle behind this, and there we go. The second Oracle is on the way. Trigger takes a bit of a gander. The lovely logo feels good. Feels good as the Oracle is looking to harass across the map as well. But so far, Erik has been in position, and oh my god, Erik is cutting drones. He is cutting drones quite heavily here. The Oracle hasn't been able to figure out what's going on. Does see the lack of workers at the third base, which is a bit of a tell, but not the biggest because he's playing against Erik, and hey, Erik doesn't drone to begin with. As the leagues are flooding across the map as we speak to deny this third base, the Oracle is back at home. We'll be able to turn around, but there are so many links to deal with. Oh, it looks like the Adept will fall. As these links, we need to do more than just kill an Adept. We're going to try and bust into the natural as well, but no, the Oracles are back at home. They do fend off the links for the time being. And this is the power of a triple Oracle opener, is we invested so much into these links, but they can't do anything just because of these Oracles. They can't deny the third. They can barely pick off any probes without losing links themselves. As a result, Erik isn't in the best position. He has been droning heavily behind this. He's been saturating his third. But again, he doesn't have the biggest economic lead that a Zerg player would otherwise have in this position. Aye. As Erik, once again, is going to be committing. He's going for +1 melee. He's got 28 links on the way. A couple of Adepts are looking to shade in towards the third base, and Erik is very quick to react. He's able to keep his workers alive. At the same time, the Queens, are going down to the Oracles. The queen just barely manages to get within range of that spore in time. We only lose one queen, but that will impact the defenses here of Erik. He will have to replace that with a fresh queen. And Erik still wants to try to deny mining at the third base, desperately so. He's got a Bailey Nest on the way. Once +1 melee is done, I'm sure we're going to be seeing +2 melee on the horizon as well. He is going to be going for it. No shield battery behind the Stalker, so the Stalker is actually under threat. Uh-oh. Stalker almost does go down at the same time. A Ling counterattack at the third base node, but we haven't overcharged. The boys are pulled. Nothing goes down. The defenses of Trigger are just a little bit too good. Erik will be able to find some of these zealots. So yeah, he gets some damage done, at least. But only a little bit, as behind this we don't have a Blink Stalker transition. We have a Charge-Lot Archon transition instead. Now, Erik has gotten eyes on the abundance of zealots, and with this, there we go. Banelings are on the way behind this to defend. We do not have a Roach Warren, though, which is dangerous. We're going to be relying on a Ling Bane Queen to defend against Charge-Lot Archon. We can deal with the zealots. Can we deal with the Archons, though? That's what I'm concerned about. So here we go. The Archons are pushing on forward. We do have another massive Warp of Zealots behind this as well. The Queens are doing what they can. The Banelings don't want to get wasted, as we do have a Baneling counterattack across the map. The entire mineral line is going to be going down. But can Erik hold? Oh, there's not enough energy for Transfuse. The Queens are falling left and right. The Lings are trying to get on top of these Archons. There is no Prism to help keep them alive. But we have another warp in, and it looks like this may just be too much. Trigger may have lost his third base mineral line, but he is killing his opponent. The Queens are falling left and right. The boys are being pulled. Without roaches, it's so difficult to defend against this. Again, pure Ling Bane Queen, just, it doesn't hold a candle against Charge-Lot Archon. Erik didn't know. I'm sure Erik was assuming that Blink was on the way. But alas, it was not. GG gets called a Trigger. He breaks on through. And he's going to be this week's Tenacious Turtle Tussle champion. I was worried it was going to be the wrong button. But GG, well played. Congratulations to Trigger for taking the series. Did bleed a little bit against Erik. Erik was able to take a game, but alas, only a game, as Trigger does assert his dominance here. Oh, at least this week. Again, in previous weeks, we've seen Erik win. Here, we see Trigger win instead. So they do go back and forth, and this week, Trigger happens to be the stronger player on the day. Oh boy, but we had some pretty wild games, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves nonetheless. Hold on, as I quickly link the players, the Matcherino page as well. I should have mentioned this earlier, but to support the tournament series, you can support us on Patreon. But if you want to support this individual event, Matcherino is the place to be. But yeah, there is a Matcherino page for this, and the Matcherino page does fund this specific tournament, Tenacious Turtle Tussle number 4 specifically. So if you want to contribute to the prize pool, then you can. Otherwise, we appreciate what you are tuning in and watching and supporting the event by other means instead. So we do thank you for tuning in. And yeah, GG, well played. For those wondering, this is a bi-weekly tournament. Every 2 weeks we do host this event, unless it clashes with ESL Masters, specifically the qualifiers. So sometimes every couple of months or every season we have ESL Masters, the NA and the Latin American qualifiers, and if they do happen to coincide with this tournament, then we will postpone our weekly, obviously. Not just because, one, because we're casting the qualifiers, but two, also so we don't force the players to pick between playing this event or playing in a qualifier. Like, we want them to focus on ESL Masters. That is the event to be a part of in this kind of in this esports, in this tournament structure. So yeah, we don't want to take away from that. So yeah, if you enjoyed this tournament, consider tuning in next time as well, as we try to feature the best of the best that we can in North America and Latin America as well. I know Cham keeps wanting to sign up to this. Every single time Cham's like, I missed it, Bobby. I'm like, God damn it, Cham. So I'll try and message him about it next time as well, and try to make sure he marks his calendar. There's also players like Vindicta as well, Dolan. They do kind of make periodic appearances, and yeah, we'll try to do our best to kind of publicize this to the players, and let's become a little bit more well known. Do our best. We'll do our best. But regardless, GG, well played. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and yeah, being a part of this. If you want to support us, you can, whether it's monetarily or otherwise. You can check out the Cranky Ducklings all over the place. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we are on Discord. Our next cast is going to be tonight in less than 12 hours. I want to say around 9 hours. We're going to be live with World Team League, the final day of World Team League Round 6. What teams are going to be playing tonight? Let's have a look. World Team League tonight is going to be Onside Gaming versus Berserker Esports, and ooh, Shopify Rebellion versus Dragon Kaiser Gaming. That's going to be juicy, Poppy. It's going to be Hearthstone versus Dark, Scarlet versus Oliveira, and Beyond versus Hero. Oh my, that's going to be amazing. So definitely a night to check out. Again, that's going to be in around 9 or so. You know, hold on, I can get the exact time here. 9 hours and 23 minutes. So in 9 hours and 23 minutes, we're going to be back. We're going to be live once again. No, actually, sorry, I misquoted. My mistake. That is ESL Masters. Oh, ESL Masters is tonight? Uh-oh. That's not good. The replacement bracket, okay. So it's going to be 10 hours. In 10 hours and 22 minutes, we're going to be live once again with the World Team League, so be sure to be a part of that. I am most likely going to nap until then, or nap for a couple of hours. I did not get a lot of sleep. I got like 4 hours sleep. And that's why, I don't know if you could tell, I'm content with my casting for this tournament, but there were a couple of moments where I was like slurring my words a little bit. That's because my brain is still tired and fatigued, so I'm just gonna go and get some rest, because we were casting until late last night as well with World Team League. So I'm gonna get some rest and hopefully be recuperated and ready for some WTL action. Oh, let's go, puppy, let's go. See in chat, I guess Canadians are too strong versus the kangaroo. Aye. The Dark Slayer. I mean, Erik, he's got ZVZ down, but his other matchups are definitely things that he is working on, for certain. Shout out to Erik as well. You know, my hijito, my boy, as he is doing his best to improve, and is actually considering going to DreamHack Yongshopping as well. I'm very curious to see how that turns out. I know it's going to be a very expensive trip, and as a result, I don't really know if we can help send him, but we're doing what we can to try and facilitate for that and try and assist him wherever we can, sorry, to see if maybe Erik does go for the open bracket. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. We do appreciate it. I appreciate it. As I do exclamation mark social. God, that was already done. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in 10 hours for some more StarCraft. Till then, thanks for watching. Bye.